and improvising. So there's a lot going on. How do you kind of start to attack a jazz standard from a tap dancing perspective?
So we'll hit A Train first, and that's a classic, way to start. Let's take A Train. And so I first have to break down this whole concept of form and 32 bar chorus.
Okay.
Because if you keep in mind, tap dancers or dancers grow up in a dance studio. So we're usually playing a track. Sometimes studios like to play top 40 music just to keep the kids excited. There's maybe not such traditionalists, but there are those type of teachers out there as well. I was very fortunate. I grew up with very traditional teachers playing. We had to dance to it, don't mean a thing. And it was always jazz. But unfortunately, not a lot of students get that at their dance studio. So when they come to the intensive, we have to start from scratch and say, look, this is a common jazz standard. The form, AABA, 32 bar chorus. Let's break that down. What does that mean? How do we tap along to it? Do we play the melody or do we do the fills? And then how do you even perform this whole thing? And then how do you make an arrangement? How do you handle talking to a musician to make your arrangement for your performance? And do you need stop time? Let's talk about what stop time means. And as I'm teaching the students, I'm also teaching the musicians who are there to play for the kids, because I'm like, do y'all know what stop time means? Because there's so many musicians who also don't know how to play for tap dancers and how to shut up, drummers. Oops.
Hey, you're talking about me. I know it. I've been there.
No, Kevin, you're great. Nah, but I feel like oh my God, here I go. Drummers, I love y'all. We love you. But it's like, if you can't hear us, we can't hear us. You're drowning us out. Chill off of the cymbal. Cut it down. Let us all be heard. Let us play together. Let us listen. Anyway, so we talk about jazz standards and forms. We call out some tunes. And then I have this playlist on Spotify of jazz standards that I give to them, just shuffle and listen to it all. There's various styles. I mean, there's only so much we can get to, but just basics on form and how to handle yourself and the proper etiquette at a jazz jam and how to not solo over a sax player, things like that. I just feel like so much of this is not taught in dance studios or in jazz music classes, like we said, and there's not even history mentioned, let alone how to play with some tap dancers. And it's not rocket science. It's really just all right, can you hear the tap dancer? Maybe you're playing too loud. Take a cue. If they want some stop time, hook it up, But we also have to learn how to communicate that as well, which is why I started this intensive to teach these ways.
Yeah, the emphasis on communication is huge at the intensives. And one of the things that like I said, when we're the performers, when I'm with the band, we're learning how to communicate in your language, and let alone learn about how tap works with the ensemble. You talked about basically tapping the melody and so forth. One of the members in our audience, they had asked, how do you, as a tap dancer, how do you get away from just tapping out the melody and actually tap melodically? Because you talked about tap having actual tones to the tapping. It's not just rhythm. And especially, like you said, if you have a drummer who's overpowering you, they're not going to hear the subtlety of the tone that you might be intending.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I want to bring my tap shoe here.
Oh, please, please.
So, like the drum set, you've got all these different tones, right? Here's my beautiful rose gold shoes. Toe tap, heel tap. Bass drum, right here. Heel drop. You get to sit into that heel drop and give me a bass drum. Snare, right here. Tapping that thing. This toe knock, if you hit it like that in the back, this is one of your deeper tones. This is like our floor tom. A dig is maybe like a high tom or whatever that's called. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Flat foot stamp, that's our cymbal crash. Boom. So we have all these tones. We have the inside, we have the outside, and then depending on your technique, you can hit certain different things. So we have so many tones. We have so many tones. And so it's a beautiful thing. And then, you know, when you brush the toe, brush it back, that's called a shuffle. Paddle and roll, we have like certain terms for steps and grouping steps. But yeah, so like with these tones, having tap dance for so much of my life, I know I can close my eyes and hear someone do a step and I know exactly what it is because I know the sound of a dig and I know the sound of a brush and a step and a heel and a flat stomp and a stomp that lifts off of the floor. It all has its own sound and note. So when tapping to say a bebop tune and you want to match each lick, or say, you know, like when I do Billy's Bounce, I'm thinking what tone da da ba ooh. Ba-dee, ba-dee, ah, ba-ya, ba-dee, ba-ya, ba-ya. So I'm thinking about what can Shiggy match best to the melody of the song I'm playing. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-goo, ba-da-da, dee-dee, flam, da-ha, da-dee-da, dee-da. That motion of opening my legs and opening my body, ba-ba-da, ba-doo, ba-doo, ba-da. And then knowing how to fill in between. But, and this is why I also encouraged my students to read and write basic rhythm notation. And I've studied this from studying piano, but especially studying drums. And I also highly encourage my students to learn how to play the drums, because what you learn how to like sit in a groove and know how to just hold that down, because tap dancers, we love to just play rhythms. That's all we do. That's not our language, to just loop a groove. We're like, you know, we're going crazy throughout the whole thing. Think about it. We're taking a long drum solo for the entire song. Nothing has really been repeated unless you were talking about the concept of phrasing. So back to that motif, you mentioned the motif. It's like we have these concepts of phrasing in tap dancing, one being 3 and a break, like the shim sham. The shim sham is a very classic tap dance passed down since the 20s. And it goes shiggy dat, shiggy dat, shiggy diggy diggy dat, shiggy dat, shiggy dat, shiggy diggy diggy dat, shiggy dat, shiggy dat, shiggy diggy diggy dat, break, ooh, ega, goo, That is an 8-bar phrase, 3 and a break. And then you loop that. Or you can do A, dagadat, dagadat, dagadigi digadat, dagadat, dagadat, dagadigi dagadat, idly biga, she go, gagadoo, dagadoo, shagadigi digi go. A, for example. So I teach these things because when I look back at all the old footage, all the tap dancers did any of those forms of phrasing. So Bill Robinson, who I mentioned earlier, was one of the greatest tap dancers of all time. One of the greatest, and he's known as the greatest. But what did he do? 3 and a break. Just different steps, different phrases, but only 3 and a break. And did anyone complain like, really, dude, you're gonna do it another time? No, it makes sense. It's easy to digest. It's easy to listen to for the audience and the listener. So we use these motifs and forms of phrasing when we tap dance. It's just, and it works very good with jazz music, especially.
That makes so much sense. I mean, it sounds like there's an entire world, and like you said earlier, an entire language, because once you've mapped it to the actual physical shoe, you know, and have all those tones matched, it's a lot easier to get a sense of mapping out the, you know, over time you get experience of approaching tune after tune. You can map the entire tune almost quicker and quicker to how you want to phrase it. Where do you want the crash? Where do you want the kick?
Yeah.
And then, of course, like you're saying, knowing at the same time, making sure you know the vocab of tap, those motifs that have been passed down, those structures that are very common to tap. And that's what, you know, when we're in an ensemble with you, that is what we're learning. We're learning, oh, there's a phrase and then there's a break. There's a phrase and a break and a phrase like that. That's important. You know, that's something that I don't think we as a band were accustomed to phrasing like that.
Right.
But it is very complementary to jazz, especially in trading. I would say, like, one of the things that I've noticed about the way you do things and the community vibe that you bring to both the bandstand and the educational aspects is this supportive feeling, right? Like we can all kind of try and outdo each other in the trading, cutting way, but not with a sort of cutting down, but you know, a way of bringing up. So I would say like that's something that I'd seen the tap community do more than the jazz community ever, in that when you guys are jamming or trading, it's so much more supportive than anything else.
Yeah, it sure is. And I've gotten all this experience just from doing it growing up, and having a teacher by the name of Jason Samuel Smith. And we had these jam sessions every Monday night, all a cappella, go as long as you want, just rip, shed, boom, everyone's shedding. But we're all very encouraging, just like, yeah, I hear you, big ups, you know, anytime you're rocking it. So yeah, we're very positive people, us tap dancers. And you know, we want to get better. We're all in the same boat. We're all passionate about the same thing. So it's like, yeah, let's be cool.
Sure.